What's up, Rockstars? Welcome to my review of the Meeples Champion. This is by Game Theory, and they do a lot of game tables, a lot of them now board game tables. I'm going to tell you what I think about this one. Alright, now as always, my reviews have disclaimers. You guys saw that, so you guys know everything. But I'm going to go ahead and say it verbally as well, in case you weren't paying attention. Now you can pay attention. This table was sent to me for free. I did not pay for it. So judge that as you will when it comes to my pros and cons, and if you think that colored anything. That being said, I've been doing these reviews for a long time now, for years and years and years, and I think if you guys don't trust me by now, you probably never will. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and discuss this particular table. Now, as an FYI, there's a link down in the description below to their campaign, their Kickstarter, where they are doing the Origins Lit. The Origins table is the kind of big brother of this table. It has wells and cup holders and all those attachments and stuff you can do, and an LED light and whatnot. This is kind of more of your bare bones one that you can get for cheaper, which is nice, and it can still actually use like USBs and a tabletop, and we'll be talking about some of that as it comes up. So I want to try and go both in order of experience, but also just pros and then cons, a few final thoughts, and then we're just going to kind of close shop. So first of all, when you get this, the shipping is very, very nice, and the signing in or signing off of it is also very nice. Comes on a very well done palette. I've done like retail work where you get pallets of stuff. This palette's better. It's a very nice palette. This came in 3 boxes. You'll get 2 if you don't get the table toppers, which you can see the inside of right over there. We'll talk about those in a little bit. So that was in a separate box. Otherwise, it was mainly just the overall frame and then the board and the legs, and that's it. Speaking of which, then afterwards, you get those boxes, and there's a little QR code, and you can scan that, and that kind of says, hey, go ahead and take a picture of the shipment. Does everything look okay here? How many boxes did you get? And stuff like that. So a very smooth process, a very nice process. They brought it all the way into my garage, and then I lugged it up here, and here we are. So yeah, very, very nice. And then when it came to putting it together, very easy. Did it within minutes, guys. It was super nice. That being said, probably a little bit heavier than some of the other game board or board game table manufacturers. I know some others, for instance, this well part is in multiple pieces, and it's one. It's just like, this is it, right? So very, very much mostly put together. You're putting some legs on, you're pretty much calling it good. But it also meant it was super streamlined. But keep that in mind. If you don't want to do a little bit of heavy lifting, it can get a little heavy, a little big, I guess, more than anything, just because it's like this is all one solid piece. Now, one thing I think that's important to talk about with board game tables is the height of it, because some of them can be quite high, which is good. Some of them can be fairly low, which is bothersome. This one I feel is quite nice. I actually just rolled this right from my desk over there, where you see me film a lot of my news videos and stuff like that, and I'm able just to come in here and sit very, very comfortably. I don't have to like max my height of the chair up, but then I don't have to lower it either, and I found that quite good. And like it's just comfortable to kind of lean over, which is mainly how you're playing one of these board games, is you're kind of leaning over. So a lot of times they'll offer pads and stuff like that here, because you're going to kind of lean over and move your guy or roll your dice or pick your token or do whatever. And again, perfect height, I feel, for that. All right, now, actually, the padding is another positive. Now, obviously, there's none here, but this little bit of padding here they do is fantastic. It really is. It's one of their big selling points. If you didn't know, they do a lot of actual like casino tables. The company does at large, and they have this like really nice padding to it. It's just very nice. It really is good. It feels great. The dice roll very, very nicely on it. We've been enjoying the dice. I've been enjoying the dice, at least. Quite a bit on this, just rolling it. It's a game changer, guys. If you have not rolled on a felt pad like this, and this, I guess what I'm saying is it's not just felt. There's like some actual foam to it, a little bit of bounce. It's really good. It's really good. Okay, let's take a quick shift over to the table toppers. They fit quite nice. I have been at a buddy of mine's Game Brigade. You may have seen him on the channel a few times, or I've been on his channel a few times. He lives close by. We play some board games. He makes me play some games I wouldn't normally play that I enjoy, like Dune Imperium. Suffice it to say, he has a very nice table as well. However, his toppers slide because they just kind of sit there. One of the nice things you're going to see on those, and I'll show them in greater detail in a little bit, is this like big lip on the side that kind of locks it in place. And there's some magnets in there. We'll talk about those. And then it has kind of a groove system where it slots in. So once it's on there, it pretty much just stays. There's a little give, but it's not sliding off. It's not sliding into you or anything like that. Very, very nice. And I quite like that it just stays put when I need it to. Now, that brings me to my first negative, and it's actually with not just the topper. The topper is going to show it the most if you pay for that. It is an extra purchase. But really, the table at large it scratches so easily. So easily. You're going to just want a marker like right next to this table. It is one of the, and it shows it. And it's one, every little scratch shows. It's a very, I don't know how you would really word, what to do to the wood here to make it this color, but when it scratches, it's like this really bright color. I have some B-roll footage I filmed before I took the topper off, so I'm going to show you that. All that happened, by the way, because I have used the topper 3 times. Twice of the same situation. So I have all these board games, and we just moved into this game room. And so a lot of these were either loose, just like this, or in a box. And me and the kids, we stacked them all up here, and then we put them up, and that's it. And the act of setting them, they were technically in a moving truck and then in a garage, but none of us felt any scratching or scraping or anything like that. In fact, it didn't even sound like that. But then we look at the table, and it's got all these scuff marks and scratches over the place from board game boxes on it. It shows no matter what. It really does. If you wear a watch, you're going to be scuffing this. I already have all these kind of like dents and scuffs here as well. It just shows really, really easy. Really, really easy. Now a marker will make that hidden quite a bit. For the deeper gashes, actually. The actual kind of scuff rub marks, because it is a very shiny wood, those are, there's not really much you can do about that I'm aware of, at least. Maybe you guys know some tips and tricks, in which case I might be kind of interested. But yeah, that just kind of a real big bummer there. And definitely, in my opinion, probably the biggest negative I have. A lot of other things are just design choices, or preferences or whatnot, and we're going to get into those. But just the fact that it marks up if you look at it wrong is kind of a bummer. Now, granted, and I don't think I mentioned the price yet, so let's keep this in mind. A lot of board game tables can run $5,000+ easily, especially if you start getting into attachments. This is $9.99 with free shipping to the US. So, keep in mind, part of it is you get what you pay for. And the Origins lit, the one that they're offering there, is a bit more pricier and is a bit nicer. So I have not had any first-hand experience with it, but just keep in mind this is for the Meeples Champion, and the Meeples Champion, $9.99 free shipping in US. So this is an FYI with that. Now, speaking of the Origins, this is kind of interesting. So if you look at the toppers again, you see those big, long sides, and they run all the way kind of down the side of this table, and that helps lock it in place because it can't move because it's got the grooves on top. That being said, that's a very, it's like your first idea of how to do it, and then you find a better idea. And the Origins, I believe, has a better idea. So the Origins has a little groove that's higher on here, and that locks in the tabletop because it has that little bit of groove to sit on there, so it doesn't have to overlap. So that's kind of the nice thing about that. Whereas this one, because it has those side walls like that, it's a lot heavier than it really needs to be. It's not super heavy, at least not to me. I'm how macho I am, but yeah, it's definitely not the most smart way to do it, I guess. And they've actually now have a smarter way of doing it, but that's not on the Meeple Champion. So just as an FYI on that. Now that actually kind of leads to another problem, another issue I saw, and again, I have some B-roll footage of this for you guys, but because of those sidewalls or whatever, by the way, this has never touched anything but carpet, right? But just setting them down just like that, though reversed. So I've done that a few times where it's essentially on the sidewall. And when you do that, just setting it down, again, lightly, like not even very heavy, on carpet, and you hear this like crack, and you're like, what the heck? And then you look and you see this little crack line all the way from where the sidewall meets. There's this nice little crack line across all of them. Every single edge is like that. And I haven't even touched every single edge. I think it's just the act of like putting it on and off and then setting it up. And like if you have a better place to put those, then perhaps that works. But it just, again, it shows up real quick. All right, now this one is just kind of personal preference. So I guess it really depends on the types of games you're playing and then just what you want. So the depth of the well here is about 2 inches. And of note, other companies, some do even less, and then others do even more. Some do even more. I've seen 4. I've even heard of 6-inch wells. There can be an issue where things are too deep. And I've played on a board game table like that. And it's not exactly fun. You have to really reach, and you end up getting these kind of marks on your arms because you're reaching down so much. It just makes, a lot of times with board games, it's hard to reach everywhere you need to, whether it's to get the token way over there, or to move your guy away over here, or whatever it might be. Digging deep into it, not ideal. However, with the 2 inches, it's not quite enough for even something as common, in my opinion, as Conan. So this is kind of an example of so I for instance, I did Stone Saga on this as well, but Stone Saga is mostly just cards, and even then its minis wouldn't have worked either. But this is literally exactly how I had to store it, minus this guy. This guy had to come completely out. The Hydra was too big no matter what. These guys could stand on just fine, and that's great. But these guys, because of they're just, humans, and so they're standing up straight, and they have the staves, nope, too high. The topper would hit and break the staff here. So I had to set each of these guys down. Excuse my gray minis. I'm working on it. So kind of a bummer. I mean, even your player character, right? You got to set them down. Otherwise, the topper will crush your minis. So when it comes to storing a game, if that's your idea, just think about the type of game and how you want to be able to store it. Knocking these guys down wasn't that hard, but it is something I had to do. And that includes even the ones on the side and everything else. So a little bit deeper I would have liked. I think, honestly, 3 would be my preference. I think 4 is at the limit. 4 for me is still a little deep, but it's also kind of nice because then you can really start storing stuff in it. So 4, 3, probably what I would prefer. This 2, I think, is a little bit too little. Now, dice, I've never had any dice pop out of it or anything like that. So I haven't been concerned about that. Mostly just when it comes to storage of miniature games is when that kind of comes into play. All right, back to the table topper. They mention magnets, and you can actually see the little circle where the magnets are. Like it's not flush or anything like that. And honestly, they may as well not be there. As far as I can tell, they don't hold nothing. Like, I'm able to move them and do all that just fine. It's not holding much, if at all. They're not repelling, so that's good, I suppose. But yeah, it's kind of a moot point. Okay, so let's talk about play area. Now, again, $9.99 table, free shipping, right? So with that, this is a little bit of a smaller table. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to play Conan on this, because I feel that's kind of for me at least, for the types of games that I like, and I'll cover some of them up, fairly standard game. Not the biggest by far, right? Like, I can get way bigger than this. I can get smaller than this too, right? Stone Saga, I think, felt just fine on this. But Conan, not quite wide enough. I think I have some good sides on here to hold minis and tokens and stuff like that. That's fine. That's great. But when it comes to your player trays, right? So my wife was playing the heroes. She's got her trays over there. But then I have this Overlord tray that normally I would play there. And actually, you can do that and overlay the board some, depending on the board and what's going on. But otherwise, it kind of has to be stuck here. I can't fit both on either side with the game board. So we could play long ways, and that's fine. But at that point, you're doing a lot of reach, and you're really adjusting your play to match the table instead of just playing how you normally would. Because normally, we wouldn't play long ways. We'd play short ways. So just as an FYI, I feel that if they could have, a bigger size would have been nice for the types of games that I play. Now, speaking of play area, one of the ways that they maximize that was giving you these kind of thinner side walls. And pros and cons, I suppose. Actually, like, just for setting your arms, I love them. I think they're great. Like, this is what I want. Like, this is nice. too big, it gets a little weird, in my opinion, at least. But with the kind of crampedness here, and with the fact that no attachments, a thicker sidewall would have been welcome, because you can actually start setting stuff on here. This is skinny enough to where I don't even feel comfortable setting like a drink there, maybe on the corner, maybe. But honestly, like, it's kind of unusable for the most part. You're not really going to be able to put too much on here at all, except your arms. Okay, now this is something I waited to do this just because I didn't want to move too much, but they do custom designs. So, now what the heck? I'll have to reset up. So as you can see, got my logo on here. That's pretty cool. They had no issue doing that, matching the red. I have a darker red. I much prefer dark red. It's like an apple red. It's like my favorite red. So I like, not like sports car red, like candy apple red or whatever that is. Anyway, they were able to get the color, actually do the actual like hex value of the red. It's the actual colors, my actual logo on there, and they were totally fine on there. They've shown off other designs where they have like Batman on it or whatever. They do these custom things. Super nice. And so it's really nice that they do that. I know not every company does. Some companies will just give you a plain color, but nope, they'll do a custom print for you. And again, it's really nice. Now, one thing I wanted to mention is just how solid this is. When it comes to like really kind of, I mean, I'm pushing it pretty hard and there's a tiny bit of give, but not a whole lot. This is something I'd be totally comfortable even standing on. Like, I would have no problem with the topper, mind. Underneath here, right? And you can, of course, pop it up. It's just kind of a board with a mat. So I wouldn't put a lot of weight there, but even that, I mean, again, it's all solid. It's all one big piece, actually. So very well put together, I feel. Very solid. Lots of wood, lots of metal. Scratches easily, right? But like the actual construction of it was, pretty robust. At the end of the day, not doing anything fancy or skinny. You got big old legs. You got these kind of solid sidewalls here. It's nice. And then lastly, and I want to end on this, guys, the price. I'm going to be doing a video here soon just because I feel it's important after I play board games for 5 years now, maybe even 6 years now, on my dining room table or on a fold-out tray, that upgrading to a board game table with the pros and cons. And one of the cons is always, I don't want to spend $6,000 on a table. This is $9.99 free shipping to the US. So as long as you're in the US, this is a huge amount of like savings, really. Like it's an easy way to where if you're gaming on a table, this is better. Pros, cons, all that gone. It doesn't matter. Straight up, if you are at your dining room table, playing on this is better. Now, do you have the space? Do you want this to be your dining room table? Especially with the scratches and stuff like that, you got to kind of judge that. But again, they have a more upgraded version with the Origins. I just know that I don't want to ever go back to playing a game. In fact, like the tabletop is there to save a game, to cover it up if I want to film an unboxing, because I don't want to play on that. I want to play on this. It's better. The dice roll really good. It feels good. It's a little bit nicer, again, to kind of rest your arms there and not be bumping up and stuff. I don't know if you ever had that, where your stomach or your arms are like moving cards on the sides of the table. None of that. There's a lot of pros to it. I want to actually do a video on kind of upgrading and the reasons you might want to. And a cheap option like this definitely should be tempting for a lot of people, I feel. I think it's just such an obvious upgrade. So anyway, that's it. Again, pros and cons, it just depends. And of course, keep that price in mind. And with that out of the way, that's it, guys. Again, it is all linked down in the description below. Feel free to check that out. Ask me any questions. I'd love to answer them for you. So if you have any, let me know, and I'll try and respond, because I actually have it right here. So that'd be easy to do. And let me know your experiences either with the company, with board game tables, what you value and don't value. It's kind of interesting to have one with like no attachments, right? Or no additions. Because I feel a lot of times, even if the base price is $5,000, you spend another $2,000-$3,000 in attachments. So this is kind of a straight up, hey, here's a board game table. I think it's kind of cool. All right, with that out of the way, take care, guys.